Geez, guys, what a rugby news day. I thought I'd done all the videos for the day, and now there's going to be another one I have to quickly do. Yeah. Because World Rugby have come out and they've announced that the draw for the 2027 Rugby World Cup will be made in December this year. That means after the autumn internationals. That means the world rankings at the end of this year will be what counts. And there's quite a bit to talk about in that because there's a lot of jeopardy this year. While Australia play the British and Irish Lions and some of those other teams over there, the UK teams will be touring with development squads, the overall rankings will already be determined between two sets of results, the Rugby Championship and the Autumn Internationals. Now, if we look at those games, there's a bunch of those games that are going to come into to play there, which will make a huge difference. Now, before this, and I know the Springbok coaches will have already known this. They'll have already planned this. They do meticulous planning. So while we're sitting here in a very cold Gauteng, I'm sure they've got all their plans already up and running. I don't doubt that in any way. I think, though, what's going to make it interesting is just how that affects the Springbok season. Because it's one thing to be on top, but when you've got a chasing pack, every time you experiment, every time you try and grow a squad, as Russie's done exceptionally well in the last couple of years, it makes a huge difference. If you lose any games, that affects your world ranking. And now this year, it means the world ranking is going to be a lot more interesting to watch than it was in the last couple of years. Of course, we all remember what happened in 2020 when the draw was made. It was a horrible draw for everybody involved, although it, in retrospect, probably gave us one of the best Rugby World Cups ever in terms of just jeopardy in every single game. South Africa was drawn in the same pool as Ireland and Scotland, while New Zealand and France were drawn together. And of course, New Zealand, France, South Africa, and England with the four semi-finalists, South Africa winning there. South Africa obviously winning back-to-backs 2019 and 2023 shows that with the right planning, and all credit to Russie and his coaching staff there, that they managed to pull it through. This is going to take a similar amount of planning, and especially to win the chance to win a third consecutive title is something unheard of in Rugby World Cup. So the Boks will be planning a lot. They've been an exceptional planners over the last couple of years, if you think about it. I mean, they used 50 players last year. Only France used more, and that's probably the biggest threat in Australia is France, although I think New Zealand will still be a massive threat as well. So that will be a huge sort of talking point going ahead. And that comes into this year, because this year, with the British and Irish Lions playing, and in Australia, South Africa hasn't got incoming tours that are that high value tours, so I say, which means we're going to be playing Italy twice in Georgia, and there's another friendly game against the Barbarians, which is, I'm not sure if it's a test fixture, I doubt it would be, but a cap fixture. But those games are there to use a lot of the youngsters and give them caps and get them experienced at the Bok level and build the squad wider. Now we've already seen some of the moves that Russie's made with the two alignment camps. There will definitely be a lot of younger players there, and I think we'll be seeing a couple of older players getting into their stride as well. Willie LaRue close to his 100th, and we'll see a number of those other players as well in that stage. But this makes the Rugby Championship and the Autumn Internationals incredibly important. And if you think this year is probably a tougher Rugby Championship for South Africa, as they're going to Eden Park to play New Zealand, a place where New Zealand hasn't lost since 1994. And then Wellington, one of the Springboks' happier hunting grounds in New Zealand, a week later. So those two games will be crucially important for the Boks World Cup rankings. And then the two games against Australia and the two against Argentina, one of them being at Twickenham. The very last one on the 4th of October is at Twickenham. We'll see that game as well. And so that's a massive game as well. And then we have the Autumn Internationals. Now, there's 4 internationals that the Boks are going to be on that end of year tour. One of them is outside the window, which is against Wales right at the end. But the two that are going to probably be the most important for the Springboks is the first one against France in Paris, the rematch from the quarterfinal World Cup, which of course France lost by 1 point, and is still being debated nowadays about if they should have lost that one. And then the big showdown with Ireland, where somewhere in Dublin, where South Africa hasn't won in quite a while, the Boks will be wanting to win that one as well. Those 4 games, the 2 New Zealand games, and the Ireland and France game are the 2 massive ones this year. The 4 massive ones, should I say. The games against Australia, you can't lose either. They're going to be just as tough. But if the Boks can win those 4, they'll be on top and they'll have the top seeding. And then, of course, you got to watch what happens to the other ones, because you can get top seeding and you can still get a tough draw. But the chances are that you're going to get a decent draw if you get a top seeding, and hopefully avoid some of the other teams. It's going to be very interesting to see who exactly ends up 5th, because if the Boks on top, one will probably be drawn with 5th in that sort of band, and probably 5th or 6th. I think they do them in bands, if I can remember, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, that like that. So you'll get drawn with a team in the second band, and then of course this year is also. The one other thing that's changed a lot is that there's 24 teams that will be playing, and not 16 as we've had in past World Cups, or 20, sorry, in the last World Cup. So that's going to be crucially important to do well this year, and we'll be watching. This channel will be following every single thing along the way, so keep here as well. We're also going to have a quick look at exactly how the qualifying will work, but obviously the big thing is that the Boks need to win as many games as possible. That might play into Russie's plans and stop him from experimenting or giving youngsters more caps, but I think he's on this road. He's never been scared to experiment and backs younger players. We've seen it in the past, and I think we're going to see it again this season. I don't think we're going to can stick and hold on to the 2023 and 2019 World Cup players. Some of them are going to be caught by the younger players, and you have to be bold enough to make those changes. But we'll see how it goes in the season and how exactly they do that. But watch this space. We'll definitely be posting videos about that as well. Let's have a look at the Rugby Championship this year. We have quite an interesting one here. Of course, it kicks off on the 16th of August. South Africa, Australia at Emirates Airline Park, Johannesburg. Argentina and New Zealand straight in the same day. These are obviously local kickoff times. And then week 2 at Cape Town, South Africa, Australia. And then the big one in the 6th of September, Eden Park, New Zealand, South Africa. That's a massive one. And then Wellington the week afterwards. South Africa then play Argentina in Durban, and New Zealand play Australia at Eden Park. And then the final week, Perth hosts the Bledisloe Cup game, and Argentina play South Africa at Twickenham. So big games there. To me, to be very honest, obviously from a South African point of view, those 2 in New Zealand are the 2 big ones that we're going to be watching. Is this the Autumn Nations fixtures? And apologies for this. This is their font, so it's not the easiest readable one out there. But let's have a good look at it. Week 1, November 1. That's when everything begins. South Africa only comes in a week later, but you can see Ireland, New Zealand, the big fixture of that weekend. Massive one, that one, and that will be in Chicago, I believe. So that's a huge one, Ireland, New Zealand. England play Australia the same way. Scotland, USA. Scotland's got a very strange schedule. I always laugh at their schedule because it doesn't seem like there's they want to play the big teams every week. So week 2, November 8 and 9, is of another one that's quite a big one as well. France plays South Africa. And that's a huge game that weekend. That's the game of the weekend to me. Of course, some interesting other ones there. Scotland play New Zealand that week. That's a big one as well. Wales play Argentina. But South Africa, France, that's the big draw card in the weekend of 8 and 9, November 9, Saturday, 9:10 kickoff in South Africa. Big game that weekend. And that's going to definitely determine who's going to go, move on the world rankings. I think it'll make a huge difference, that one. Week 3, of course, South Africa go through to Italy, play an early game again in the afternoon against Italy. England have their huge game against New Zealand that week. That's a massive game there as well. Ireland, Australia, also a big one. France has a quieter one against Fiji. Scotland play Argentina. That's going to be very competitive as well. Wales, Japan, that should be an interesting one to watch. Lots to watch in that game as well. And then week 4, of course, the big one, Ireland, South Africa in that week. Repeat of the World Cup game that Ireland beat South Africa in. France play Australia, another big one. Wales play New Zealand. Scotland, Tonga, another big one as well. Another smallish game for them. And England, Argentina. Argentina will certainly fancy themselves in that game against England. Italy play Samoa to round out the fixtures. Interesting week as well. And then on the final week, which November 29, that's interestingly a week where the Bulls play the Lions in a derby as well. South Africa plays Wales in Cardiff in a game as well. So that's going to be interesting. That's the Autumn Nations fixtures. Some big fixtures this year. I think, as I said before, the 2 games against New Zealand, the France game and the Ireland game are going to be crucial. But obviously every game South Africa needs to win, or it's win as many as possible, and hope that some of the other results also keep them at the top there. It's hard to stay top. It's going to be very difficult going into a World Cup year to keep yourself on top. But certainly, and you have to develop players, and you've got to have youngsters coming in. So there's going to be a couple of risks that need to be taken. But just how much that World Cup will influence, the draw will influence it, waits to be seen. And we wait to see how the Boks handle all this. But it's going to be very interesting to watch. 2027 that it released. This is how the teams will be qualifying. 12 teams have already qualified. Argentina, Australia, England. Looks like Fiji, if I get my flags right there. France. Looks like Georgia, Wales, South Africa, Scotland, New Zealand, Japan and Italy. Those are the 12 teams that have already qualified. 12 more teams will qualify for 2027. They'll qualify in 2025 so that they'll be ready for that draw. 1 team from South America, 1 team from Africa, which is normal. There'll also be a team from the South America Pacific, which will be a playoff. We'll get into that now. 1 team from Asia. 3 teams from the Pacific Nations Cup. 4 teams from the Rugby Europe Championship, and then 1 final team to qualify in a qualifying tournament at the Sevens Stadium in Dubai in November. So that should be quite interesting as well. The tournament is already finished. The 4 teams that went to the semi-final of the Rugby Europe Men's Championship, that concluded in March, and the winner of the 5th place playoff will secure the ticket to the final qualification tournament. So there's the nations involved. As you can see, Georgia, Portugal, Romania and Spain all qualified for the World Cup, and Belgium will go through to Dubai and play in that qualifying tournament to see if they can get to Australia 2027. 1 team will qualify there. Their tournament takes place in June and July. The winners qualify directly for the World Cup. The runners-up go into an Asia-Africa playoff. Teams involved: Hong Kong, China, Korea, Sri Lanka and UAE. So 2 of those, 1 will qualify and 1 will go into the playoff. Hong Kong, China probably, and Korea probably the interesting ones to watch there. Interesting to see who comes out of that one. Then Africa, which is obviously important for South Africa and our neighbouring nations there. Namibia with a team that qualified for the 2023 World Cup. But Zimbabwe's been showing some good form, and there's some interesting moves up north with the French influenced sides in the north of Africa. The Rugby Africa Men's Cup will qualify directly, and the runner-up goes up against the runner-up of the Asia Men's Championship for the Asia-Africa playoff. Algeria, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Namibia, Senegal, Uganda, Zimbabwe and Morocco. That should be a very interesting one to watch as well. We'll get 1 team over there. Of course, Argentina's already qualified. The South America Rugby Championship winners will definitely qualify for 2027. The runner-up qualifying for the South America Pacific playoff, and the 3rd place team will join the final qualification tournament. So that's Brazil, Chile, Paraguay and Uruguay. I think Uruguay obviously have a good chance there of qualifying. So some really good rugby coming out of that region as well. It'll be very, very interesting to see. So 1 team will qualify, 1 team goes into a playoff, and the 3rd one goes to the final qualification tournament. Pacific Islands, the best 3 teams of the Pacific Nations Cup Other than the already qualified Fiji and Japan, will go to Rugby World Cup 27. So 3 teams, Japan and Fiji already qualified, and then the 6th place team will join the South America Pacific playoff. So if you look at Japan's already there, but they are involved in the Pacific Nations Cup as well, as are Fiji. So basically almost all of them can qualify. Samoa, Tonga, USA and Canada, the best 3 of them will qualify, and then the one that comes last will go into the South America Pacific playoff. Then over there you'll see the South America Pacific playoff and the home and away playoff between the South America Rugby Championship runners-up and the team finished 6th in the Pacific Nation Cup. The winner will qualify for Australia 2027, while the loser will go to that final qualification tournament. Then we look at that final qualification tournament. One team that's the very, very last way of qualifying. They'll probably be the very last qualifier anyway, because it's only in November that this happens. The South America Pacific playoffs in September. So there'll be one pool of 4 teams playing in a round-robin format, and the winner on competition points, so there's no final, will go through to Australia. The 4 teams will be the 3rd place South America Rugby Championship, the South America Pacific playoff loser, the Rugby Europe Men's Championship 5th place, and the Africa Asia playoff winner, which is the Rugby Africa Men's Cup runner-up and the Asia Rugby Men's Championship runner-up winner. So that'll be interesting to see exactly who qualifies there. We're going to see a lot of new nations. It's going to be a longer tournament, looks like, in 2027. We're going to see a lot of big versus small there. So I think even though you have some big games, those depending on where you're drawn, is going to be very important as well. So guys, that's the way the Rugby World Cup draw is going to work in December. I think when you realise that there's so many more teams, there's going to be so many of these games that are going to be spread out. If you give all these teams enough chance to recover, especially the smaller teams, you're going to have a lot of these games there's going to be dead week. So I'm not sure that the 24 teams is going to work. I know what World Rugby's aim is to try and obviously grow the game a bit more, but I think it's going to come down that we're going to have these big games at the World Cup, 1 or 2 games in each pool that's going to be basically determine the first part of the World Cup. So that first part of that World Cup in Australia is going to be long, and I'm not sure it's going to work quite well, but that's just me now. Maybe I'll be proved wrong, but those big games are going to come down to everything. So as Springboks, you'd have a look at who else is your big test in your pool. You might have 1 or 2 big pool games, and then it comes down to the knockouts. So you just got to make it through your pool. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's a big year ahead. The Boks need to keep the number 1 ranking or finish as high as possible, which basically means you need to win as many games as possible. So that will influence how much rotation Rassie does and how many youngsters he brings through, and we'll certainly be watching that with this December thing in mind. Saying that, guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the draw happening in December? What do you think the Springboks' chances are in these games this year? And who do you think the other qualifiers are going to be? Where do you think we're going to see big changes? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. And if you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button. It always just helps bringing these videos to you. And we'll be watching the progress through the year as well, and we'll be talking a lot more. If there's anything else you want to know, please leave a comment below, and I'll see how we can answer your questions as well at the same time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.